with Coach Gundy as we get ready for week 2 of the college football season. The Cowboys off to Oregon to take on the Oregon Ducks. A couple of things on offense I wanted to check with you about. Something that really jumped out from the first game was a lot of downfield throws. I mean, long pass attempts, my estimation in probably the 45 to 50% range last year, previous years, more like about 12%. Do you see that being a consistent identity of this team, taking more shots deep?
We have to find ways to get big plays. We got to get the ball thrown down the field to get those big plays. And as we develop the passing game with Zane and the receivers we have, if teams are going to play heavy in the run, as they did, then we have to be able to throw the ball down the field. Otherwise, it becomes extremely difficult to run. There's not space. That was one of the issues we had in the game, was we're forcing the run a little bit too much into not as much space.
Right. So now I'm going to go a pretty strange direction given the question I just asked, but how much do you anticipate the tight ends being involved in the passing game as we roll along through the season?
They will be involved in the play-action passing game. And, football is – tight ends went away and they've come back, but that's a one position that is a dangerous weapon on offense. As you can tell in the NFL, they're paying a lot of money for good tight ends that can block some, but also do a good job catching passes because they get lost. So you can keep a tight end close to your offensive line, and he can be an extra blocker, but then he can also be a receiver, as we know. And if you think about that in the direction of offensive football, guys that can do that are valuable because they can do both.
Well, in fact, Oregon has a very good tight end. We'll talk about the Ducks more as we roll along. Zane Flores has been here. This is his third year. It'll be his first start. What about his makeup as a person gives you confidence that he'll be okay?
Well, Zane is very level-headed, very intelligent. He's a grinder. He works at it. Football is important to him. He's got a good arm. He's a good prospect. He moves around well. I mean, he's not a runner. He's not a burner like what Haas was. But he brings a lot to the table, except experience at this time. So we all have to be patient with him, just like teams across the country that are using other quarterbacks that are young. They're just not as far along. We know that. So we have to develop him. We have to be patient with him, give him a chance to grow. We're going to try to expedite the process, but there's some of it that you can't expedite, and that's called reps and experience on game day.
The defense did a lot of good things, obviously, but what would you like to see get even better as we go to week 2 and obviously facing a much better, much more talented opponent?
We tackled good in the game. If we would have wrapped up 3 or 4 more times, we would have tackled exceptionally well in that game to start with. So I was pleased with it. In the next game, we're going to see tremendous skill on the perimeter. So tackling will be very important. There were times that we lost some contain on misdirection, quick throws, which was smart on UT Martin's in their plan. We talked about that gave them a chance to get the ball thrown quickly, not have to protect. We need to do a better job of defending those.
As you just think about Oregon as a whole, you mentioned their skill on the perimeter. We've talked about the fact that they are extremely talented, but what's really their identity?
To me, they're as physical as a team that we've played up front on both sides of the ball combined. I'm very impressed with their defensive line, the way they're coached. Very seldom do you see offensive linemen double team and get up on a linebacker. They do a great job of eating up the linemen and letting the linebackers run free. That's why they've been able to minimize so many chunk plays in the running game. They're big and physical, but they have length, and it allows them to grab a hold of offensive linemen and not let them get to the second level.
So what's the roadmap to pulling off a win? What has to happen?
Well, we've practiced well. I feel like our players are going to go play extremely hard. We need to be sound in special teams. We need to have penalty accountability. That helps us stay on the chains and doesn't give them free yards. We need to be able to take care of the football on offense, but we also have to be aggressive enough to try to keep them on the run a little bit. And then defensively, we have to tackle and minimize big plays.
We'll look at some of the highlights of the Cowboys opener against UT Martin when we come back. Let's take a look at some of the highlights of the Cowboys opening win over UT Martin. We talked about deep balls, and, well, we'll just start with the big play right here.
It's a really good throw, good execution, a little dash package for us. Sell it, get the defensive lineman pinned in, and the quarterback made a really nice throw going to his left. Good route down here on the bottom. I think that was 2 that caught that one.
Terrell Davis.
Terrell did a nice job there making a catch on a run, kind of get us going there. But, you know, this team's in run defense right here, right? So we talked about it in between takes here. There's 7.5 players playing the run, and we only have 6 blockers. So they're playing run. You in most cases, you're going to have to throw the football here. Difficult to run into that, which we saw a lot of that in this game.
Terrell Davis, a transfer from UCO with 2 big catches on the night. He's made a pretty quick transition, it seems.
He's doing well. Yeah, he's adjusted pretty well. Football's football, but, you know, as we go through the season, staying healthy and his durability and playing, competing against guys that'll be more challenging. It'll be interesting to watch him develop.
Now we move along and we see what makes Haas Haney unique.
Yeah, so they came after us here. They brought pressure. They're bracketing up top. The drop end is bracketing the inside receiver. So essentially, they're in almost what you would call a zero coverage from that standpoint. Everybody has responsibility except the safety in the middle, or the drop end, is bracketing the inside receiver. And Haas recognizes it, and he just takes off. And those things are hard for a defense to defend.
And he has, well, almost world-class speed, it seems.
Yeah, he's really fast. He sure is. You know, he eliminates the angle here. They came inside, you know, right now, you know, I'm sure Tennessee Martin is wishing that 29 there on the right would have kept his right arm free and not have his right arm touching the offensive lineman, because when he's touching the offensive lineman, he's now turned at an angle. And when you turn at an angle, you can't restart, and Haas gets around the corner.
Right. That's the first touchdown for Oklahoma State as the Cowboys took the lead on Haney's TD run. And now we move to the defense, and boy, you see a Cowboy defender come free on this play to get the sack.
Yeah, they did a good job in this game of bringing the pressure and trying to keep the quarterback off balance.
And it's a great story, too, because Kenneth Harris, a guy that hadn't played much in his career here, and now he's starting, makes this play here.
Yeah, he's another one that should develop with experience over his career here. You know, it's an interesting story with Kenneth, with the portal nowadays and players coming in and out. And as we see it, you know, the current players on your team are going to have to learn to accept players coming in and being competitive.
Right.
And you got to fight and continue to earn a spot. And that's what he's done. I'm very proud of him and what he's done at this point.
Harris gets the sack here, and here's another look, and he just comes unblocked and makes that big play. Now we move along later in the first quarter, and now Haas Haney gets his first TD pass. And speaking of speed, that's what the young man Gavin Freeman has.
He does. You know, he played at school. The one thing that attracted us to him was where he played before he transferred here. There had been several times in a game where he ran 22 miles an hour, and that's really fast. And good job on the perimeter blocking, right? Watch 14 up top, and I think that's 82. And see the perimeter blocking there. These are things we have to improve on. We were okay on the perimeter and blocking. We need to be much more physical. And here's an example of why. This is you're in a tough situation here. You're on, I think it's second down. You're on the 10-yard line. Yeah, so see, we're looking at second and goal from the 10, basically, right?
Right.
Or maybe we could have got a first down.
Yeah, 2nd and 8 at the 10.
But you're in a difficult situation. Getting 8 to 10 yards down in the goal line is difficult because obviously there's not as much field for the defense to have to cover.
Now we move along back to the defense, and it's another sack.
Yeah, I think that's Wendell there.
It is.
Yeah, and he's a really good young talent for us. You know, when you look in the back, we look at this from the end zone angle. The thing about him is that we've had good edge rushers here before. You know, Colin Oliver's a special guy. You know, Colin was 235 pounds. You know, Wendell's 265. and he's I believe he's a redshirt freshman.
Yes.
And if you watch him here, his ability to power through and push and then use his hands. So he gets that separation right there. So he's got separation with the lineman, because the big linemen, they like to get their hands on you and grab you. And he's using his left arm to create separation, and then he'll power through with his right arm, and he'll strip right there. You see him pull back down with that right arm, and that's going to allow him to free him up to this quarterback. So the other thing that was effective here is if you watch the inside push, I think is that Oates, the three technique, 9, is that Jaleel?
Yeah, it's Jaleel.
Yeah, I see Jaleel getting pushed. So 79 is getting pushed back.
Mm-hmm.
And the outside guys in the world of the NFL and college football get all the credit for all the sacks. But Jaleel right there was a big factor, because he didn't allow the quarterback to step up. And then Wendell was able to grab that sack. You can tell by looking at him there, the size. For an end.
For sure. Here's another one of those deep balls, and here's another one of those big plays by Terrell Davis.
Yeah, really good catch. I mean, ball's thrown exactly where it should be. Again, they're in cover one here. Everybody's manned up across the board except the free safety in the middle field is free. Zane gets the ball out there at they should be about 40 yards is where this ball should be connected. So, we're on the 35. So that'd be 15, 25, 35. So it's about 38 yards. So that's about right. And that was a contested catch. That wasn't just an easy downfield catch. He made a contested catch there. It was good. And they did a good job there of corralling that ball and making a play. That's a contested catch right there.
Sure.
I mean, like number 8, you can't fault number 8's coverage right there. They had good coverage. They just made a throw and a catch. Here's another linebacker pressure here. The one thing about this defense that I think is going to help us as we move on, that we really didn't do as much of in the past, is this looks like a blitz. Like if just the normal everyday fans watching this, they think blitz, right? We're only bringing 4 people.
Right.
So these are what you call your simulated pressures, essentially. And so you're bringing defenders that wouldn't be what your typical rush players are. So just in a base play here, the 4 defensive linemen for us would be your rushers. And if it's a zone or man for that matter, the other guys are playing pass. Well, so what they've done here is they drop both ends, and then they bring both inside guys and have created some confusion and kind of forced them into a errant throw there and got an interception.
Yeah, Cale Smith with the interception. I believe it was Oliphant that got the pressure. You moved him down closer to the ball in the preseason.
And here's the other thing that Oliphant did a great job of here. These are things people don't talk about. So what's the mistake that gets made right now in college football in this situation with Oliphant? Targeting.
Yeah.
And Oliphant's 6'4". I think that quarterback for them, let's just say 6'1", okay? The thing that you worry about, it happened to Kendall Daniels when he was here with us a couple years ago. Remember, he had a direct shot, and then because Kendall was about 6'5".
Yes.
Well, he's about 6'4", so the most difficult thing for him is to make sure he gets down. He's got to stay below those shoulder pads, okay? Because if his helmet gets anywhere in the shoulder pad, neck area, helmet area, they're going to get flagged, more so this year than ever. And if you look at what he does, see where he's at? It's perfect. He did a good job. I talk to him all the time because – I can't imagine being a defensive player and running in and full speed trying to make a play, being excited about getting a sack, and then, I got to make sure I hit him in a certain spot.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
That's not easy to do, but we talk about that and we coach it and hope for the best, and that's what happens right here.
Yeah.
The other thing he didn't slam him down, okay? And so, it was beneficial for what we needed, and we also avoided a penalty. Because when that happens, the one thing you don't want is a roughing the passer, and then they get it back.
Yeah,
those
15
are
yards, automatic first down. Yeah,
huge momentum swings.
Oh, of course. Moving along later, your final touchdown, Sesi Balahi came in a reserve role, got this touchdown. He had some good runs.
Yeah, really, he did a good job. Yeah, he's really reliable. The thing I always say about Sesi is, you look out there and it doesn't look flashy and everything, but it's solid. It's good play. Sure. Like right here, he takes his ball, okay. He outruns. He doesn't panic, doesn't try to cut back. He outruns the big guy. Okay, now he's getting good blocking down. Now you've got 18 on his guy up there where 14 was earlier. And then you've got the tight end right there. So he's got them all blocked. We've got a block downfield. He makes the cut, gets through the crease, and scores. And I think this was on third down here. This was third and goal from the 9.
Yes, it was.
Difficult situation to be in. But everybody's blocked, and then he hits the crease and runs it in and, secures the game.
So the touchdown by Valahi, and Oklahoma State takes an opening night victory over UT Martin 27-7 at Boone Pickens Stadium. It's the Cowboys in Oregon on Saturday, and we'll see you next week.